As many of you know, I have a Kukuri. What I came across was an old sheet of Kydex I had in the barn, so it's kind of dirty and I haven't made anything with Kydex in years, but I figured I'd give it a try. I'll put a little bit of tape on the outside of this knife, and what that does is it just adds a little bit of size to the blade, so when you're using it to mold the sheath, you have just a little bit more play in the sheath. Not so much that it's rattling around, but enough that you can pull something in and out. This is filthy. It's been in a barn for a long time, so I tidy it up a wee bit. Make sure I'm in frame. Our black streak remover for the camper, it seems to work quite well. And that is filthy. And there's a couple of good dings in this, so I'm not sure how I'm going to work around those. So here's the profile I'm looking at. And I think a real key thing to remember when you're making a sheath, it's not the time to be stingy with your Kydex. Pencil and a straight edge, which I have around here someplace. Alright, well, I found my carpenter square and a carpenter pencil. So I'm just trying to figure out what size I want and what dimensions I'm looking for in this. So what I'm going to do is, if I make this a little too big, that's fine. I'm going to use twice as much as that. So that's 4 1/4. So I am, nope, 4 1/2 inches. So I'm going to go with a full 9. I've just finished ripping my Kydex to the right width using the bandsaw. So I've taken a few minutes and I've just wrapped the blade in some green masking tape. The type you use for painting. It doesn't leave much of a film on there. I've left a little bit of the edge open here and the point open. I want that to fit nice and snugly in the sheath. So same over here. I'm going to do a little bit more trimming. Maybe perhaps just trim this back a little bit. So as you can see, I've taken the time, I've done my trimming. Oh, I'm missing a board. Obviously the vise is upstairs and installed on the kitchen. It's not screwed in or anything like that. It's just got a snug fit adjustable bolt that I can remove it quickly. So what we have here is we just have a standard carpenter vise, a pine board, some sleeping bed pads that were cut up, and some more sleeping pads that were cut up. I will put another board in behind here, and that will be our press. I'm heating up my Kydex to about 330 degrees. That's when it becomes pliable. Then I'm just going to add a few more degrees to it. Go up to 340, and leave it in there for a minute or two, and then I am going to start working it. Okay, so I found an old cutting board that needs to be sanded down and refinished. So this is what the orientation of the press is going to look like. This is a nice flat piece of wood. It's very true. I'm going to put the blade down like so, with the Kydex folded over it. We'll press that there. With the pine board, put it in here and clamp the hell out of it. Alright, we got it in the clamp, we've got it forming, and the only thing is if I let this go, it's going to open up like a V. So I've got to hold that tight and wait. Let's see how the first mold went out. If we need any more. That didn't feel like it was going to work that great, so. Oh, perfect. As you can see, the Kydex formed very nicely around the knife. The extra tape here was used to make sure that there was a little bit of space, but I explained that previously. So now what I'm going to do is let that cool, and then I'm going to do a trim and space out some screw holes and some rivet holes. So I've tried to leave lots of room for my screw holes. So I'm going to leave some screw holes here and over here. So the Kukuri sheaths usually end in a tip, and I think one of my things is I'd like this one to end in a bit of a curve. So I'm going to curve that back this way. And round that over. Now this part here I don't have to worry about at all because it's part of the folded crease. The Kydex did a wonderful job molding in around the blade. There's a few spots here that are raised, but after I cut this down the way I want it, I'm going to play with that a little bit, maybe just tighten it up a little bit by hand with a little bit of light heat. But as you can see, I've drew a line. It's about 1 centimeter outside of the blade and a little bit more higher, and that's where I'm going to put my hardware, the rivets and the screws. And then here I've left it a little bit open. I'm going to play with that a little bit. I'll trim it up as best I can, but what I want is the knife to be able to release. So I'm hoping I'm going to be able to make the channel about here and that it'll slide out. But again, I want a knife that will stay in the sheath, and I want it to be fairly silent as well. I've actually switched the sandpaper around so the rough side's on the inside and the smoother part's on the outside. So I'm going to try this little trick. This is something I didn't know the first time I made a sheath, and see if that makes any difference. And I've got one of those dreaded purple lines. And there we have the Kukuri sheath. We'll be drilling some holes in it and putting a belt loop on it.